After days of fierce criticism of Iraq's army for abandoning their posts in the northern city of Mosul, the Iraqis strike back. The Ministry of Defense has released cockpit video they say shows fighter jets hitting targets in the city. It's clearly designed as a show of strength. It's a tactic that both sides are using. This is an ISIL, or the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant fighter, claiming victory in Tikrit. Their aims are to establish an Islamic State that straddles the border of Iraq and Syria. After fighting an effective military campaign in nearly a third of the country, one of their leaders now has his eyes on Baghdad.
March toward Baghdad, the heart of the Islamic Caliphate, where we have to settle an old score, once and for all, and march onwards toward Karbala. So get ready for that moment, for the big fight.
ISIL fighters have made unprecedented gains, but the story of the day here in Baghdad is one of politics. Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki wanted a state of emergency law passed. He didn't get that after members of the House didn't turn up for the extraordinary emergency session that had been scheduled. That's left him furious and many in his party wondering what to do next. Meanwhile, in Mosul, thousands still flee as aid agencies struggle to cope with the influx of desperate people. In other parts of Mosul, there's no Iraqi army presence. Instead, Kurdish fighters remain on the border with the Kurdish region, checking cars and helping those who have fled. So far, Mosul remains quiet as ISIL fighters ask the population to open shops and go back to work. The Iraqi army have now reacted to allegations that they fled their positions from Mosul.
We want to say that these locations are sovereign Iraqi locations, and there aren't any orders to any units or brigades to withdraw. The orders are very clear. It's to remain in these locations and to fight these terrorists without let-up.
But anger is rising in Iraq at ISIL. Here in the mainly Shia south in the city of Basra, young men queue up to join the army. They say they want to fight ISIL and its associated forces. With such chaos across northern Iraq, decisions have to be made. Decisions that may well see young men like these fight. Imran Khan, Al Jazeera, Baghdad.
Al Jazeera's Omar Al-Saleh has the latest on the security situation from the capital also.
A senior advisor in the Iraqi Ministry of Defense confirmed that special forces as well as highly trained forces, he described them as elite forces, will carry out a military operation in Tikrit and Mosul to clear those cities from fighters from the Islamic State in Iraq and the Levant, as well as other armed groups. He did not specify when that campaign will start, but he said it will be very soon. Now, separately, the Iraqi Air Force has been carrying out different airstrikes in Mosul and Tikrit. Those two cities remain under the control of the armed groups, including ISIL fighters. Now, politically, the Prime Minister failed to convince Parliament to pass an emergency law. Not enough MPs showed up to that session, so they couldn't pass the emergency law, which will give the Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki more power, more authority to deal with the crisis. Another development is that government sources are confirming that special forces are already on the way to Mosul and in Tikrit. Now, security sources did confirm to Al Jazeera that some of the Shia groups that are fighting along with President Bashar al-Assad's forces in Syria have moved in Iraq to back the government in their efforts and in their campaign against fighters from the Islamic State in Iraq and the Levant.